Have you ever wondered why our everyday conversations seem natural, yet it still follow a certain patterns? That is exactly what conversation analysis or CA tries to tell you. Conversation analysis is the study of how people use language when they talk in real life. It does not look at made-up examples, but at how people actually speak in daily interactions. It was developed by a group of American sociologists, which includes Harold Garfinkel, Harvey Sachs, Immanuel Chikloff, and Guy Jefferson. They believe that to understand communication, we must look closely at real conversations. In the book Discourse in English Language Education, John Flaherty, the author mentions that CA researchers work with recordings of naturally occurring talk. So this means they use real conversations that happen naturally, not planned or scripted speech. So the main idea here is that CA focuses on real social interaction and helps us understand the structure and patterns in everyday talk. Why do we study conversation? Because conversation is the most basic and natural way humans use language. It's the first kind of language we learn as children, and it becomes the foundation for how we communicate throughout our lives. So, conversation is really the starting point of our communication skills. What does it aims to do? It wants to show that everyday talk is not random. There is a systematic set of rules, almost like an architecture. Also, it looks at how people respond to each other and how they fix problems in conversation, which we can call repair.
So, how conversation analysis is done? First, it begins with recordings of real conversations like audio or video. Second, the conversations are carefully transcribed using a specialized transcription systems. And then, the transcribed data is analyzed repeatedly to identify patterns and regularities in the talk. Next, let's take a look at the Jefferson transcription system as part of the steps in conversation analysis described by Wilkinson and Kitzinger 2008. The first step is meticulous transcriptions, where we record natural talk and transcribe it in detail using Jefferson systems as developed by Hutchby and Woofit. After that, we move to repeated listening. So this means that we play the recordings multiple times so we can become more familiar with the data and make sure the transcriptions is accurate. And once we are confident with the transcript, we move to the third step, which is identifying a phenomenon. Here, we select a specific conversational actions like a social actions, a token, or a sequence that we want to analyze. And when the phenomenon is chosen, the fourth step is to collect instances. So this is where we gather a preliminary set of examples that shows the phenomenon happening. Next, we subdivide and select. This step, we break the collection into smaller subsets and choose the most significant subset for detailed analysis. And finally, we move to the last step, which is analyzing examples and variants. So here, we examine the clearest examples in the selected subsets and also look at the less obvious examples and deviant cases to refine our understanding.
On this slide, we are looking at single case analysis. As described by Chikloff and discussed in Flaherty, this approach focuses on one conversational fragment in detail instead of analyzing many examples. The purpose is to understand the fine structure of interaction, how people take turns, perform actions, and respond to one another in real time. So, the analysis is bottom up because it is based directly on what the participants actually say and do.
Let's take a look at the Jefferson transcription system, which helps us understand how real conversation actually work. I'll explain three important features: pauses, overlaps, and cuts off. First, we have pauses, which show moments of silence in speech. Pauses can be short or long, and for example, someone might say that, "I was going to call you, but then I forgot." Another example is a pause with a non-verbal sound, like she said, "I am tired." So these pauses help us see hesitations, emotion, or thinking time. Next is overlaps, which happen when two people talk at the same time. For example, person A might say, "I think we should," and the person B just jump in and say, "Yeah, I agree." Another example is when someone begins speaking even before the other person finishes their sentence. So overlaps tell us that the conversation is lively or fast-paced. And lastly, we have cut-off, which show when a speaker suddenly stops mid-word. For example, when someone might say, "He was gone," and then get interrupted. Another example is when the speaker changes their mind mid-sentence and just stop talking. So, cut-off show interruption, hesitation, or sudden shift in thought.
This slide highlights three key features: tone changes, emphasis, and volume. First, tone changes. These symbols show how a speaker's pitch or speak shifts during the speech. This includes the exclamation mark, rising and falling arrows, underlinings, capitals, and angle brackets for fast or rush speech. For example, an exclamation mark expresses a strong tone like, "That's amazing!" A rising arrow signals a question, "Are you coming now?" While a falling arrow shows finality. "I said no." An angle brackets show quick speech, such as someone talking very fast due to excitement or nervousness. Next, emphasis, which highlights the emotional weight on certain words. The symbol for emphasis is underlining, which marks extra stress. For example, I'm really tired today, where really is emphasis. Another symbol is capital letters, which show even stronger intensity. For example, I told you no. Lastly, volume indicates how loud or soft the speaker is. The symbol for loud volume is also capital, such as he wasn't listening to me. Meanwhile, the symbol for soft or quiet speech is the degree sign, which represents very soft volume, like whispering. On to Sarah, you were first.
The next key feature is arrow. The arrow points to the exact line or part of the transcript that the researcher wants to analyze. For example, I didn't take it. Arrow. I left it on the desk. Here, the arrow shows us which part the analysis will focus on. Second, breathing. .hh for an in-breath or HH for an out-breath. This symbol shows when a speaker inhales or exhales while talking. For example, I didn't know. This sounds like taking a quick breath in before speaking. Or the next one, I guess so. This shows an out-breath as the speaker starts talking. Next, latching or attachment. The symbol here is the equal symbol. It means the next speaker will start immediately with no gap between turns. For example, A say, I think, and then B immediately say, yeah, same. So here, the equal sign shows that the B begins talking instantly without pausing after A. Next is sound stretching, or you can pronounce the symbol as colon. Colons show that a sound is lengthened. For example, that's great! This means the speaker holds the A sound longer, maybe to show excitement or emphasis.
Moving on, next we have unclear speech. When the audio is unclear, transcribers use brackets like this or write caps to show their best guess of what was said. Next, we have intonation patterns. This show the tone of a word. For example, a word with a full stop indicates a falling tone, a comma means a continuing tone, and a question mark shows a rising tone. This helps us understand how the speaker sounds emotionally or how the sentence is meant. Then you have pitch movement. A falling pitch is marked with an A like this, and a rising pitch is marked with A like this. These symbols show a small pitch changes that can give meaning, like showing uncertainty or confidence. We also see pronunciation features. For example, that shows that the speakers use guttural sound, which means the sound comes from the throat. This helps capture accents or spatial pronunciation. Finally, we have transcript references. Something like this tells us where the transcript comes from, like the archive, the date, and the page or line number. Overall, this system helps researchers capture the fine details of real conversations so we can study how people truly talk.
Next, this slide explains why the Jefferson system is used. Flowerdew notes that the goal is to capture how conversation actually happens, not the idealized version found in textbooks. The system shows features that are usually ignored in language and teaching, such as hesitations like and overlapping talk, incomplete sentences, cutoffs, and changes in speed or volume. Even though everyday conversation may look messy, both Jefferson and Flowerdew point out that it is still systematic. The transcription reveals the underlying structure that people follow when they interact.
To conclude, conversation analysis shows that real conversation is very different from what we imagine. The transcription system helps us see things like overlapping speech, blended words, and non-verbal sounds such as and These natural features of thought are usually ignored in textbooks, which is why CA is so useful. It helps us understand how people actually speak in their life, not the idealized version we usually see in language learning materials.